Hi, I'm Melanie Johnson along with my co-host Jen Foster. We're here to give you another terrific show. We have a fabulous guest today. Her name is Tami Patzer, and she is a best-selling author. She has a business called Blue Ocean Authority, and she does similar to what we do. She helps authors achieve their publishing goals, make them a bestseller, and helps them write and create their book as well. We're going to learn inside tips from her of what she thinks about the publishing business and how to get your book leveraged and use it as a platform for yourself. And we're going to talk about how to use your digital online presence to maximize that. So Tami is an expert. She is a multiple best-selling author. We're so pleased to have you here today, Tami. So if you're looking to do maximize your online presence, if you've thought about writing a book and want to know how to get it out there, then today is your show. Welcome, Tami. We're so glad to have you here today.
Thank you. I appreciate you inviting me.
So tell us a little bit about your background and how you got started in writing books and publishing.
Well, I am let's say that I got started writing books back in the 3rd grade, but more recently I actually started doing book writing in about 2011. I wrote my first book called Ask Tami, Tips, Tricks, and Tools, 365 Ways to Use Social Media. And the idea at the time was I was really focusing on local marketing consulting, and I wanted the local people to know that I was an expert with social media. So I put together 365 ways to actually create your online presence. So at the end of a year, you would have 365 pieces of what I call digital waterfront property. So that was my first book. And then in 2012, I wrote Ask Tami, Pinterest for Business. And that was fun because that was part of a challenge to quickly write a book. And I chose Pinterest because at the time Pinterest was brand new and you still had to get an invitation in order to get on it. So I wrote about Pinterest, and then I've written other books, and I've helped a very eclectic group of people become #1 bestsellers. I like to have this joke. What do a poet, a Chinese medicine doctor, and a butter maker have in common? And the big joke is that those are all people that I've helped become #1 bestsellers with their books, because I've just helped a lot of very different people. But the beauty of that is what it proves is that if you are someone with an expertise, a book can really become what a lot of us call the ultimate business card or the ultimate leverage tool to help get you out there. It's very good to help you get on the stage.
Talk about what you feel a book does for a business, for someone who is maybe already in business or someone who wants to start a new platform. How do you feel you can, because so many people think, well, it's the book, I'm going to make tons of money selling my book, but we teach, and I think you teach as well to authors, it's not necessarily the money you make from the sales of your book, it's how you leverage it. So talk about the leverage of a book and what it can do for you and what it did for you in your business.
Well, exactly. It is not about the book. The book is, like I said, it's like the ultimate business card, or it is the ultimate tool that helps you to position yourself. For example, when I wrote my book about social media, it made people realize, gee, she knows enough to fill a book, and this was actually about a 400-page book. This is before this was not a Kindle book. This was actually a big physical book. But what it did was it let people know that I really did have an expertise about social media marketing. And what it did for my business is it actually did a few things. For example, I got invited to speak to many groups. For example, I was invited by SCORE to speak to their groups, small business development centers, local chambers of commerce, and I even spoke at a local nonprofit foundation And in the audience of that particular luncheon, it was a lunch and learn, so I spoke for maybe a half an hour about social media marketing. In the audience was the educational director from Florida Gulf Coast University, and he immediately approached me and said, do you think that you could create a social media certification program for Florida Gulf Coast University? And of course I said, well, yes, I can, because I do have a teaching background also. So I actually have since created Florida Gulf Coast University's social media certification program, and that course has been taught now since 2013.
Wow.
And not only that, but my book that led to me creating other courses, everything from video marketing to referral marketing to just general marketing. For example, I have a course about how to find your ideal client avatar, how to create marketing funnels, and all of that stemmed from the one book, my 365 social media tips, tricks, and tools, to speaking in front of a local group, and it turned into an ongoing business for me as a adjunct at the Florida Gulf Coast University. So that's just one thing. Other opportunities from creating a book and creating that platform, because think about it, when you become an author, you are perceived to be the expert or the authority, and it helps you create impact and influence and, of course, more income. And again, it's not about selling a whole bunch of books, but it is about what this book does for you, because people perceive authors as the expert. And of course, when you become a best-selling author, it puts the icing on the cake, I guess, if you want to see it that way, about people say, oh, okay, so you are the ultimate expert. And of course, you prove it time and time again, because the fact that you get invited to speak, for example, this is an opportunity created from the fact that I wrote a book. I'm here speaking with you and sharing my knowledge. I also interview people for an online business magazine, and I often will hand pick the people I interview, and one of the criteria I look for, as do other media representatives, is, do they have a book? Oh, they have a book. That, gives me that one little check mark that, oh, I can talk to them about the book topic, and other people will be interested in this topic that their book is written about.
So the question that people give us all the time is, well, when do I get this investment back? Whether they're investing, they already have their book written and they just need it published, so whether they're investing $10,000 or $50,000 to get their book out there, they're going to get their money back through the opportunities by leveraging the book and having universities and different companies come to them and ask them to create things and increase their business and increase the amount of money they can charge for their services. So the answer really is yes.
Yes.
That you're going to get that money back, but it may not come the way you think it's going to come.
Right. And again, if you think about it, that book, the book I wrote in 2011, fast forward, this is 2016, the book is still working for me 24/7, 365. Right. And books, especially physical books, and you don't have to print out a bunch of them. You can get them one at a time, but they really are an excellent prop when you're speaking also, or if you're invited to be on television. They're also very, very handy to have. But yes, you're absolutely right. You definitely will get the return on investment. It isn't something that you measure in, oh, I got one thing from it. It is something that you're going to keep getting a return on for a lifetime. Yeah. Every book that you publish, you should have a bestseller campaign done for it, because that each book will help you to create a larger online footprint.
Right. Well, I love how you took your book, and I know you were speaking, and they asked you to come to the university and sell a course. But I think that's important for everyone to know that, a lot of times, like we said, that people will think that the book is the end, but really the book is the beginning. And a lot of times you can take all the content in your book and say, okay, what are the 5 steps that I'm teaching in my book? Well, those are the 5 modules or the 5 course, chapters or courses that you're going to be teaching. So a lot of times you can just dissect your book and repurpose again the content to do a certification program like you did, Tami, or a training course online, or all sorts of different training, whether you're doing it live or on digital.
Exactly. Repurposing is huge. And also, when you write a book or you create a book, and let's say you speak your book, that spoken version of your book can actually become the audio book that you can sell on Amazon. So you could have a Kindle book, a Create Space book, or a physical book. And again, Create Space is only one of several platforms you can use. But then you can also have an audio book, which can become useful in any of your marketing. And not to mention that, but for example, when I do the interviews with people and they have a book, I could even take the interview that I do with people and turn that into a chapter in one of the multi-author books that I produce, so that someone could do an interview with me and actually end up being a best-selling author just by spending a half an hour to 45 minutes with me doing an interview.
We did that with our book writing Bible. We took the best of our podcast and curated them together and created a book. And it's right. It's the best way you put it out there. You do it once, and you can put it on multiple platforms. And so many people just put it on one platform instead of multiple platforms when they're doing it. That's a really smart idea. What do you think are the top things someone should think about when they're writing their book and creating it? And specifically, if it's for a business, what are the things that they should really be including in that book?
Well, the first thing that people need to do is they have to know, who are they writing the book for? Who is your ideal client? Especially if you're going to be using the book as the ultimate business card, or as part of your marketing sales strategy to grow your business. So if you know who your ideal customer, client, patient, whomever that is, that way your book will be targeted. So you're writing to a specific audience. And I think it's important when I say a specific audience, because oftentimes we're so afraid to narrow down our focus to, one avatar or one group of people, that our message is too broad, and then of course nobody's interested in what we have to say, because they may not be able to relate to what we're giving them in that broad message. But if we narrow it down to that ideal client, then it's like, yeah, that's me. She's talking to me. So that's the first thing. And then, of course, think about it. Your book, we're not writing the great American novel here. And if it's a Kindle book, you need to be thinking about one problem, one solution, or a topic, because Kindle books do not have to be long. Think about the fact that you could create several shorter Kindle books, one topic, one solution, and then you could actually create a larger physical book where the Kindle books could be all put together to make a larger physical book, because most people want a physical book with a spine. And in Create Space, you need at least 120 pages to get that spine. Obviously, you can print a physical book in a different format that doesn't have that multiple pages. But I think that people need to not think in terms of one book. If they're going to be using books and for part of their marketing, they should be thinking in terms of my first book, my second book, or a series of books, because you don't necessarily have to say that you're a 20-time multiple author, but you could say, you know, best-selling author, #1 best-selling author, and then let's say maybe you have a series like my books are Ask Tami books, because that I have everybody, how that happened is everybody used to say, ask Tami, she'll know, because I've got that personality of, if I don't know, I try to look it up. So that was how that little Ask Tami came to be, was because people say, ask her, you know, Tami can figure it out, you know, because I dig. And so I think that's kind of a cute little aside about how that Ask Tami came about. But again, don't limit yourself to thinking that you have to write the book. Little one problem, one solution. Kindle books are just as good as having a physical book. And again, the whole idea is to leverage that. And when we talk about leverage, I think it's important that people understand it means it doesn't end with the book. The book is, it's kind of like having a ticket. It's the golden ticket to get noticed, to get found, to get acknowledged, and to get interviewed. And it could be interviews on podcasts, radio, television. For example, I've been interviewed on television about Facebook and what my expertise on Facebook was. Obviously, I've used Facebook a lot, and I've helped a lot of people with Facebook, but my expertise was talking about Facebook addiction. Okay, talking about Facebook. The first one I did, and it's almost embarrassing because it was around Valentine's Day, so we needed a hook for television. So how to find love on Facebook. I personally do not and have never found love on Facebook, but I can talk about how other people use Facebook for finding love, creating relationships, family feuds, and of course for business. And it just happened that finding love was the Valentine's Day hook for that. But again, having a book, when the TV producers looked at my proposal, guess what they noticed? They said, oh, she's an author of some books, and they didn't care if they were Kindle or physical. What they cared about was that I was an author, and the fact I was a best-selling author obviously didn't hurt, and I was invited to be on television for NBC and CW affiliates talking about Facebook.
Awesome. Yeah, tell us a little bit more about that. Like, how would somebody just starting, like they just barely got their book published, how would they go about getting on TV?
Okay, so if you want to get on TV, here's the big secret. You have to, #1, you've already got the book, so you've just, checked that off the list. Now, when do you want to be on TV? What time of the year is it? So you start to look for things that are happening in the news that relate to not your book, but the topic or your expertise, because your book might be about social media, but notice how I was on for Facebook. So it was a hot topic. And also, Facebook has, I think their birthday is February 7th. So look for hooks or events, things that'll make what your book is about a hot topic. Like right now, it's the Olympics. Right. So if you were able to tie something to the Olympics, maybe it's about mindset, or think about all of the things going on, or your book is about how to be a top athlete. I mean, you could probably tie yourself to the Olympics, but look for a hook, look for something that is timely and local. Also know that the road to the Today Show, you don't go directly to the Today Show because that is big, okay? You would start by literally picking up the phone or emailing or sending Facebook messages. I actually got on local television with a Facebook message to a local affiliate. I think it was about Facebook and teenagers. If you remember when they came out with the guidelines for how to protect teenagers on Facebook a few years ago, I actually got on local television with a Facebook message. So you actually come up with what you're familiar with, a one sheet for your book. So you come up with something like a one sheet, come up with an idea that would grab their attention. So using Facebook, okay, my question, are you addicted to Facebook?
Yeah.
That was the headline. Are you addicted to Facebook? And then find a couple statistics. According to blah, 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 Facebook, people they claim it's only 8 hours a month, but facts is probably 8 hours a day. Take the quiz. And I made a little quiz about how to tell if you're addicted to Facebook. And then I had a little short bio about myself. And when I say a short bio, we're talking about maybe 50 words about what made me qualified to talk about Facebook. And in my case, because I am a college level instructor, I'm able to use that, and of course that adds to my credibility. So I have best-selling author, the book's title, social media, and then of course I had that hook. And then you find out who the producer is. And again, start either at your local stations, for example, I was actually on the San Diego CW station. I was in Albuquerque. I was invited to Los Angeles and to Chicago. And you can talk to them on the phone. You could make a very short video of you pitching it and actually what you would say to them. And when I say a very short video, it would be 30 seconds to 2 minutes where you would, go through what you might say in an interview. Because remember, news interviews are probably only 3 to 5 minutes long if you're lucky. A lot of times you might get 2 minutes or 3 minutes on the air. But think about it, if you could do your pitch on video, are you addicted to Facebook? And you have to be really energetic because over the airwaves flattens us out. So, I'm a hand talker, so it gives energy to it. And smile. These are all, you want to make sure that you look friendly and happy, and then speak clearly and speak fast. Faster than normal, because again you're trying to convey all this through this cold image. Like video, what we're on now, it's kind of cold, so the more energy that I put into it, the more people will go feel me, that energetic. So get a hook, localize it, timeliness, smile, find a local producer. How do you do that? You can go to, let's say that you want to be on television in your local community. It sometimes is easier to be on television someplace else rather than your local community. You all know about how in your own hometown you're just a nobody, but you go someplace else and you're somebody coming into town.
Yeah, you can't be a prophet in your own land.
Yeah. So you want to, like I said, be prepared, very quick. Are you addicted to Facebook? Take the quiz, and then the questions. And I actually had a great time with the person, person who interviewed me, because we were joking around, and his name was Gene, and I said, well, Gene, are you addicted to Facebook? And of course he goes, well, how would I know? And I said, well, what's the last thing you do before you go to bed at night? Do you check your Facebook? And he goes, uh-oh. And then I said, what's the first thing that you do? You may be addicted to Facebook if the first thing you do in the morning is check your Facebook. You keep your phone by your bed, all of these things. And so we had a really fun time with this. And then, of course, I actually made the quiz, and the directions or call to action was to go get the quiz. And so they had my website and then / Facebook quiz or something like that. Very important. Always be prepared to have, you have to have like your book place for them to go to get your book if you want them to buy your book. Being on television also lends itself, if you ever wanted to have an excuse to go somewhere, for example, to be on television, let's say that you're in California but you want to be on some station in, let's just use Albuquerque, New Mexico, because they do take a lot of people from out of town in Albuquerque, New Mexico TV stations. So let's say that you're going to Albuquerque. You would want to set up in advance, if possible, a book signing at a local bookstore or a local place so that people could go see you, and then, of course, take video or take pictures of that at your book signing. And so these are just ideas that you could use. But again, locally, for example, it's easier for me to get booked in California than it is for me to get booked in Florida. So, just because of that local factor. And I personally don't have any TV stations really close to me, but I can tell you that you can get the list of TV producers and TV stations online, or you can look them up and find people on LinkedIn. If you look up people on LinkedIn and let's say put a city and a title, like it might be producer or associate producer, and you could literally hand pick where you would like to be on TV, and then it could be as simple as smile and dial and get a hold of the producer and do your pitch over the phone, or
Right.
send them a video, and it can happen. And then, of course, what do you end up with? You have the TV clip, the video as seen on. You see a lot of people with the as seen on, and what they're doing is they're using the as what really should be as featured in, because of the press releases to ABC, NBC, CBS, etc. But then you actually have television clips, and as you are on television, other TV producers will book you because then you have evidence that you are a good guest.
Right.
And another positive thing that happens from being on television is if you are a good guest, almost immediately they will invite you back to do other segments. So you could actually turn one television appearance into many, and again, always have something that you're going to direct the audience to do, like go here to get my book, or go here to find out more about me. And I'm sure that you've heard horror stories about people who got on Oprah, or they got on the Today Show, and they said it did absolutely nothing for me, or on Shark Tank, it did nothing for me, or it was so overwhelming we weren't ready for it. Right. So you have to be ready for either the surge of business you're going to get, or just be ready to sell something. Never go on television just to be on television. You always want to have a book or an event or some reason why you are there. I think that's important.
I think it's really important because a lot of times you forget that you have an offer, and you have to make sure you have that offer and say that offer, whether it's to go buy your book or to go get the free questionnaire, like you were saying, or whatever it is, the call to action, right? So the offer, the call to action.
But it's so cool because being on television is a lot of fun, and actually just being interviewed, period, like this is, to me, is fun.
Yeah.
Being on the radio, you can use what's called terrestrial, meaning real-time radio, where you're either calling in on the phone or you're there live in person, or of course podcasts or online radio shows are very good. My advice to any author or any business person for that matter is get out and talk to people. And I know a lot of people are terrified to actually talk to people, like to stand up in front of a group. But talking like this is what, 1 to 2, all we're doing is having a conversation, and we're, I'm not physically in your location, but it's good practice, because the more interviews you do, the more you can hone what you'd like to say and talk about this. Today's interview, what I like about it is that you actually asked me questions that not a whole lot of people have asked me about. So it's exciting for me to tell, well, how do you get on TV?
Yeah.
And so that's exciting for me to be able to share that.
Yeah,
Right.
it's a wealth of information today, and my big takeaway from the last segment about TV is be prepared for success. So be prepared to sell something. Be prepared to have a deluge of people and prospects and things come your way from that interview. So if it happens, you're ready, and it doesn't go to waste. So be prepared for success. I think that's great. Any last thoughts you want to leave with us before we wrap things up?
Well, I wanted to say something quick, Tami, before. Just the one thing you mentioned when you were talking about the TV is when you actually go to those places, whether it's in your hometown or Albuquerque or wherever. I loved how you said make sure you get a local bookstore or Barnes & Noble or whatever and get that book signing party there, because then you have more credibility. Not only were you on TV, but and then you have something to tell the people on TV too. Well, I'll be at the local bookstore on the corner of 5th and Main or whatever it is, and I'll be signing books there until whatever time. And you have that to say on TV, and then you have all those pictures, you have video there. So now not only did you get to be on TV, but you also had a book signing party. And even if only 10 people come to that book signing party, or the people who already are shopping at the store, it still is you at a book signing, and that is really good PR.
And just to, I guess I'll make my final comments about that. The beauty of that is, again, we talked about leverage. Now you have a television event, a television news event that you can leverage, and a book signing, and you can write press releases about this both pre and post, and get that out there and create massive digital waterfront property, meaning grow that online footprint. Because, for example, every interview, for example, the show that I do, it's on YouTube, it's on Spreaker, it's on Stitcher, it's on iTunes, and some other places that I can't even think of, but it gives at least 5 different video or audio links. And then if I send a press release out of that and I link it back, I have then created about 450 to 500 digital links back to me. And it's a very effective way to leverage. And this is a mistake that I see over and over again, ranging from billionaire authors like Damon Johns, for example, because I actually looked at him and I went, whoa, he needs my help, to just average, ordinary people. And that is, they don't leverage every single media event, every single conversation, every single opportunity. For example, this is an opportunity for me to send out a press release about the fact that I was interviewed on this, and I can send people to it, and get my name out there again in multiple places. So leveraging every single media opportunity and making it pay for itself over and over again. Maybe we don't pay for every media opportunity with cash, but we pay for everything with our time. So it's really, really important to leverage it so that your online footprint grows, so that when people look you up, and even if they just type in your name, they're going to go, wow, look at that. She's been interviewed by all of these different people, and she's been on television, and oh my goodness, look at that. She's been in the news. That's really, really important.
I got to tell you, I was taking notes during this interview. You were giving such great, valuable information that I wanted to make sure that I wrote it down, because you just had a great way of saying it in a different context that related to me. So I hope it related to everyone listening today, and to you out there. If you're inspired to write a book and to learn how to leverage a book, I think you just got great content today. Really terrific. Anything you want to leave us with before we have to go? I don't even want to stop. I feel like I could talk to you for another 45 minutes.
Well, if anybody does want to contact me, I'm really easy to find. It's just send me an email to Tami, T-A-M-I, socialmedia@gmail. That is my personal account. So if you'd like more information, or you have questions about what I do and how I can help you, and especially about how to leverage whatever it is you're doing, I'd be more than happy to do that. And also, I'll just make an open invitation that if you would like to be interviewed for an online radio show, Business Innovators Radio, go ahead and use that email, Tami Social Media, and let me know who you are and what your topic is, and we'll see if it's a good fit.
Awesome. Terrific. And we'll put all her links on our website so you can find her, and we'll make her books available at Elite Online Publishing.